Are you there, goddess? It's me, Vicki, and I have a confession. For a long time, I thought boundaries were walls, meant rejection, meant I was too much or not enough. Until I realized that boundaries weren't barriers, they were actually bridges to my truth, to my energy, to my own sacred self. So if you've ever asked, why do I keep saying yes when I want to say no? Why do I feel guilty for needing space? Why does everyone else seem to get what they want? Why am I left cleaning up the mess? Then, babe, you're in the right place because this episode is my love letter to you. Now, just like the book, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. This is a coming of age story, but it's not about puberty. It's about power and remembering who the hell you are and for not playing small and not performing and not people pleasing. And honestly, I didn't grow up with boundaries. I grew up learning how to be the good girl, how to be the reliable one, how to be the helper, the shapeshifter, the one who got straight A's and self-abandonment. Now, if we will go back in time to little Vicky, I am the middle child to parents who were divorced early in their marriage. I knew the role of mediator almost instantly between my sisters, between my parents, between family, friends. I did so to keep the peace. I became the interpreter. I was always the middleman. You tell this person to tell that person. My skill sets were very much honed to make sure that everyone else was happy. And I really went out of my way to check in with everyone else's needs before my own. And I did that because it gave me a sense of control. It gave me a sense of peace because I couldn't relax unless I knew people around me were relaxed. And again, it was all for a sense of control. And it worked until it didn't, right? So fast forward to adulthood Vicky. So we're talking mid-30s Vicky here. And I remember a moment when I realized my boundaries were non-existent. And maybe you can remember a time when yours were non-existent as well. But for me, it was in my mid-30s. I remember it was the summer of 2019. I had just had my daughter. I still owned my Pilates studio at the time, and I'd recently given birth to her. So we're talking like real fresh here. And I just got out of the shower and I remember it vividly because, in those early stages of parenthood, motherhood, you're just exhausted. And even to get a shower is a gift. And so, it was already a luxurious moment because I was able to get a shower. And I remember hearing my phone buzz on the dresser. And at this point, I'm screening my calls. I have very little time. I'm sleep deprived. I'm tired. I'm only talking to my husband, my business partner, maybe my parents. And so it was my business partner who was calling. So I was like, oh, I got to answer it. And so I'm thinking this is going to be a big moment. Why is she calling me? It's got to be really important. And I remember her asking me, she asked me what I was doing. She was kind of doing a very quick check-in, but then promptly asked me if I could cover her classes and cover her private clients for her in 2 weeks' time so she could extend her vacation for her birthday week. And looking back on it now, I'm like, why would you ever ask someone that? 4 weeks postpartum, very, very fresh postpartum. But she did. And me at the time, I was like, well, for one, I was feeling good because I just got out of the shower. Even though I was sleep deprived. But, I felt like, this is an opportunity that I can help out. We have other instructors at the time, but they were unavailable. So this is my time. I'm a business owner. I have to step up and do the hard things when no one else is available. And, this aligned with my identity of being the go-getter, being the problem solver, being the always available person. And so, of course, I said yes, right? And so fast forward 2 weeks, I'm standing in the middle of the Pilates studio. It was in the evening time. I'd been up pretty much for 2 days straight. My husband was out to sea because he was active duty. He still is active duty, but he was out to sea. So I was parenting solo. And, I'm still recovering from a C-section. So I'm standing up for this 4-hour block. I'm holding my baby while I'm trying to find the words and cues to teach this class and these clients. And I had that moment of realization of why did I say yes to this? Why did I think this was going to be a good idea? Why did I think that I was available for this when I think instantly my body knew I wasn't, but I didn't, my ego and my mind raced to immediately say yes, to be the peacekeeper and make my business partner feel happy. But it was when I was actually standing there that I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Why am I doing this? Right. And that's when I realized that I had no boundaries. Like I knew that my boundaries were like loose, but it was at that moment that I was like, never have I ever or will ask of this of somebody. Like, why did I think this was okay? Because it's clearly not. And so I started having these thoughts and I started having these, realizations, and I started having like, oh, this isn't normal, where I'm getting more clear about what I want. And the more that I kind of voice them, the more that I was coming up against resistance. So it was also during this time that I actually started getting into my tarot practice and my oracle card practice. I had seen it with some business colleagues who were doing it, and I was like, you know what? It can't hurt, right? And so I started doing it, and I remember asking my tarot deck. Actually, it was my oracle deck. In fact, I have the deck right here. So if you're on YouTube, you get the visual, but it's the Sacred Rebels Oracle here. This was the first deck I ever got. And I remember asking, almost taunting this deck to see if it was legit and if I was crazy. And so I basically asked the deck, like, am I crazy for thinking these thoughts, because I was being gaslighted left and right. And I said, if this is true, if my feelings are true, if you're going to be a tool to speak to me, like, show me. And the two cards I pulled were a heaven sent, which is basically divine help, without asking, and after the storm are the two cards that I pulled that day, which this card is really much about, like, the storm has to happen for things to clear out of the way and to rebuild and start fresh and get rid of all the old so you can keep what's truly important. And so the fact that those two cards came up really kind of solidified with me, like, okay, this is a tool and a medium which is going to help me and support me when I'm being gaslit and doing all these things. And it really helped me bring me back to myself. And that's when I truly knew that I had started my boundary journey, was that moment, in that instance, that both my boundary journey and my spiritual journey were very much connected. Now, I didn't set my first real boundary because I felt strong. I set it because I felt broken. And then I heard her, that inner voice, that whisper of my highest self, my guides, the goddess, if you will. And she said, this isn't who you are. Come home to yourself. And that was the beginning of everything. So these days, I'm a lot more grounded. I still use tarot and oracle cards, and I am very much a boundaried person. And this is how I help other women. I help other women like me who are burned out from being everything to everyone, women who are used to giving, that they've forgotten what receiving feels like, women who know that there's more to life than managing other people's expectations, but still can't quite break that pattern of doing so. She's a recovering people pleaser who's done the journaling, the therapy, the moon rituals, the shadow work. She's pulled every oracle card in her deck, and she still finds herself saying yes when every fiber in her body is screaming no. So she's also mystical, she's intuitive, and she's exhausted, and she's on the edge of a breakthrough. And these are the women that I help. These are the women that I help usher in back to themselves. So if that's you, I want you to know you're not broken. Okay, you're just remembering. You're remembering who you are. Boundaries aren't meant about being less kind. They're about being more true to yourself. And every time you honor your energy, every time you say no when you mean it, every time you reclaim your space, every time you're doing anything that brings you back to you, you are doing the sacred work. You are doing healing. You are doing, your ancestry proud. You're becoming the woman that your ancestors dreamed about. Okay. So I want to let you in on a little programming notes here. So the next few weeks, I'm actually going to be revealing a mini series. So the next few episodes of this podcast are actually going to be part of a mini series that I'm calling Becoming Her, the Boundaried Woman Awakens. And I'm utilizing this for you guys, and it's not a checklist. It's really going to be more of a spiritual roadmap, and really showing how our spiritual journey and our boundary journey is very much interconnected. It's for every woman who has ever whispered, I just want to feel like myself again, because deep down she knows the way back, and she knows the way back is through boundaries. So each episode is going to be a piece of that journey, from understanding what it really means to be a boundaried woman, to learning how to protect your peace without guilt, to hearing from spirit guides instead of your inner critic, and to seeing how your yes and your no shape your entire life. Because boundaries aren't a trend as much as our algorithms like to say that. They are a return. They are a return of your voice. They are a return of your energy and your divinity. So before that mini series kicks off, I would like to offer you a little bit of reflection practice that you can start now and kind of set the tone for the upcoming episodes to come, and to kind of set the tone for your journey. Okay. And it starts with 2 journal prompts. So I'll probably put these in the notes too for easy reference. If you're driving or taking a walk and can't take notes, don't worry, I got you, girl. So to prep, I want you to think about these 2 journal prompts. First one being, where in my life do I still feel like I have to earn the right to exist? I'll say that again. Where in my life do I feel like I have to earn my right to exist? That's your first journal prompt. Second one being, what would it look like to trust that my needs are holy? What would it look like to trust that my needs are holy? And when I say holy, I mean something to be held in reverence, something to be elevated above and beyond this earthly realm. Okay. So those are 2 journal prompts that you can reflect on before we get into this mini series. And if you are a tarot and oracle deck person, here's a nice card pull for you. And that is to ask your deck, what part of me is waking up as I become more boundaried? So what part of you wants to come forward? What part of you is waking up? Okay. And see what card comes forward for you. And you can also do a mini ritual, like a little candle magic. So I like to light a candle, kind of whisper to your guides, and just kind of listen in and breathe and meditate. There's a lot to be taken in from a little candle magic, and a lot of it is just kind of creating, again, that reverence, that spiritual ritual, if you will. So let this be your moment. Whatever phase of the moon, let this be your new moon moment. It's always that like starting new, and it doesn't matter what phase the moon is in. I don't even know what it is right now, but this is your initiation. So these journal prompts, this tarot pull, this candle ceremony for yourself, this is all to set the tone for the mini series that is coming. And if this episode really touched you, it's because the sacred part of you is ready. She's ready to stop apologizing. She's ready to stop shrinking, and she's ready to step into her divine, grounded, powerful self. Next week, we start with the first episode in the mini series, and it's going to be called She's Not Bossy, She's Boundaried. And I'm going to go over 3 spiritual traits of the woman who knows herself to that level. And it's being energetically sovereign, spiritually aligned, and emotionally grounded. So it's a beautiful one for us to kick off with this mini series with. And that episode is going to be 1 part soul sermon, 1 part strategy, and all parts you. It's going to be a great one. I can't wait. So if you haven't already, I want you to go ahead and follow the podcast and share this with a soul sister who's been whispering, "Are you there, goddess? It's me." Because I want you guys to be ready. Be ready to receive the download, whether it's being channeled through me to you, but it's to awaken your inner self. It's ready to become in touch and return to yourself. Okay? Because the answer is yes. Goddess is there. She is listening, right? And she sent you this podcast for a reason. So until next time, I want you to remember, love yourself like you mean it. Much love.